attraction, so.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I think we're still in the morning hours. It hasn't turned noon yet. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here for two primary reasons. As Vivek ji said, we launched this wonderful book last year, and I was present for the launch event. And this book was the first step to educate, to inform, to empower women to come forward, to share stories, to normalize conversations, to let women know that they were not alone. And today, as Vivek ji said, it's the next chapter for the next chapter. And it gives me so much optimism to see a company like Abbott build forward on what they've done with just launching the book. And today we're doing this amazing unveiling of this wonderful thing that we will tell you about later, that will actually progress and take the conversations that have happened in this book, take it forward to the next step and start normalizing conversations around menopause. So that's the first reason why I'm so thrilled to be here. The second reason is the last time I mentioned this, and I was extremely delighted to see the 3 or 4 men that were in the audience the last time. So I can't tell you how happy it makes me to see men represented in much larger numbers this time around. Because to be really honest, yes, this conversation is about something that women go through, but this entire event is really actually for the men. So all the men that are here, members of the media, all of them, thank you for being here. And we really hope that all of you who are present here today will take the information, the message that is shared today forward and outside of here into your communities, into your homes, into your families, because that's really what we need today. So to start off things, if I might, I actually want to go back to this book. I've read it a couple of times myself, and I want to read a little excerpt from it. Not long, just a paragraph, but I want to read that for you. So this is a piece written by Alexandrina, who's 51 years old, from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And she says, men should be sensitive and supportive toward women going through menopause. Sadly, that's not always the case, particularly in my household. My husband, for example, thinks it's funny when I start to sweat. Usually, when we're watching TV, I'll throw off the blanket and begin to fan myself frantically. And he'll howl with laughter, like he's enjoying every moment. So right here, let's begin this conversation. So if I might, since I have commented on the men that are present here today, if you don't mind, not to put you on the hot seat or under the spotlight, but I'd like to ask the men that are present here just 1 or 2 questions to begin. Can I?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, super. So let's start with the gentleman with the lovely salt and pepper hair. He looks like he may have had some life experience, so we'll ask him to start.
I think he's wondering why is he sitting at the front.
Thank you.
Sorry. Can I ask, just very basically, have you ever been aware of any woman in your life who has undergone or is undergoing or is going through menopause?
Yes, first of all, thank you for asking me the question. And I happened to be at the event that happened last year when we launched the book.
Yes.
And that helped me. I have a mother who's almost 58 now. And I was so ignorant towards what she might have gone through. And it kind of enlightened me on terms of the symptoms that women go through. Yeah. And I happened to go back and have a conversation with her. So that was a very sensitive moment. It was enlightening. At the same time, it helps you bond because you are more aware of things that women go through, and it equips you to kind of deal with that kind of an experience. Yeah. So I think it's a wonderful initiative, and I'm glad that we are spreading awareness about this.
That's amazing. Can I ask, just to build on that, as a son, is it a difficult conversation to start with your mother? Did you find that it was something that she didn't want to discuss or come out with? Or was it something that she was actually waiting for you to possibly approach her and ask?
Honestly, I could sense a bit of apprehension because, like we have been discussing, and it was mentioned even during the book launch last time, that a lot of women are apprehensive to come out and discuss the symptoms or the excerpt that you read in the book. That was a bit of a humorous take on it, but let's be honest, it's not funny, the kind of things that they go through, and the kind of initiative helps people raise awareness and makes them sensitive towards this matter. So the husband was actually howling. Had he been aware, he would have been more considerate and caring towards that. So yeah, I think it's a great initiative.
Yeah, but I just want to tell men present over here that it's not uncommon that women don't talk about this to their families. And in fact, I think there was a study done by Abbott and Ipsos itself that said that 66% of women across the world don't want to talk to their family members about them going through menopause because they don't want to worry them. They don't want the family members to worry about their health concerns. So I think for the longest time, unfortunately, as women, it's been ingrained into us to constantly put our families first so that, we don't cause them any concern about how we're suffering or what our health concerns might be, that kind of shuts us down. But thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, to pick somebody else. Everybody is sweating under their collars a little bit. Ki mujhse mat pucho, mujhse mat pucho. Let me ask the gentleman who's laughing now about it. Chalo, your turn.
All right, yeah.
Has any woman, family member, partner, colleague, ever spoken to you about symptoms that they may have been experiencing during menopause?
Lara, I, like most men, was blissfully unaware of the fact that menopause could have such significant impact on a woman's life or in a woman's life, right? Until my aunt, she's my mom's younger sister, she walked up to me, and this is after she watched Bombay Begums, okay? And then she said, you know what? I've been sweating all the time. The fan's on, I switch on the AC, and I'm sweating. And everybody in the family is confused as to why am I sweating. They're saying, open the windows, get out into the open, etc., etc. So I then went ahead and read up a little more about what this condition is all about and realized that it's just not a natural occurrence, but it's much beyond, and there are a significant percentage of women who actually experience severe symptoms, and that could just be beyond sweats, and there's plenty more, including depression and so on and so forth. So I went ahead and not just spent time with her, explaining her about what could be the potential consequences, but also my uncle is pretty much like the gentleman in that story of Alexandria, right? So this man is fairly, let's say, not very sensitive, and therefore I had to sit him down and also kind of walk him through what could be the potential consequences for the family, and ultimately I could put both of them together and make sure that they actually saw a doctor. So pretty fascinating. I think Bombay Begums is a great example because the protagonists, the female protagonists in that series have very openly spoken about menopause and the potential impact that it could have in women's lives. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it amazing that today, at least in mainstream media, through our entertainment, we've got an amazing array of actresses now that are over the age of 30, 35, who are still, headlining amazing content. And I think for me, that's one of the main reasons for my presence here today. I mean, I'm 45 years old, and I don't want to be approaching this chapter of my life with fear. I don't want to be approaching it in ignorance. So I think the idea for me, apart from the fact that I come from a family of very strong women and largely women, so, the experience is already there. But I think for me, it's about not just empowering myself, but as an artist, as an actor, to be able to empower other women. And I think that that's the need of the hour, even within the entertainment industry. But I just want people to know that most often, we're talking about hot flashes, we're talking about things like this with menopause, but there are over 40 symptoms that women can face when they're undergoing menopause. And I'm sure we have a wonderful panel of doctors over here, very esteemed, very senior doctors, who will talk about that more in detail. But it's important to understand that we can't just limit it to 1 or 2 or 3 symptoms and say, okay, I understand that, but I choose not to understand the rest of it. And yeah, I think on that note, maybe we'll open up this entire conversation.
Absolutely, and thank you for setting the context so well, and thank you to the two gentlemen here in the
Yes,
audience today
great,
for
great
sharing
man.
their
Thank
personal
you.
experiences. And what a way to kickstart the panel discussion. We will begin with the panel discussion now, and for that, please join me in welcoming our key experts, as Lara mentioned. Our first panelist for today is Dr. Nauzer Shehryar. He's consultant obstetrician and gynecologist at the PD Hinduja Breach Candy and Holy Family Hospital and former Secretary General of the Federation of Obstetric and Gynecological Societies of India, FOGSI. He has also co-authored a book on perimenopause called Finding Your Balance. Dr. Nauzer, lovely having you here today. Thank you. Our next expert on the panel is Dr. Suchitra Pandit. She's consultant obstetrician and gynecologist at the Surya Group of Hospitals in Mumbai. She's also been a former president of FOGSI. Dr. Suchitra, thank you for joining us. And our last panelist for today is Dr. Rohita Shetty, Head of Medical Affairs at Abbott in India. Thank you, Dr. Rohita. Now, interestingly, if most of you remember, last year we were also joined by Shaili Chopra. She's the founder of She the People. She's also an author and an entrepreneur who moderated our last year's panel discussion.
Shouldn't be taking it, and everyone else, if they need it, can take them very safely.
Okay, Dr. Pandit, you know, part of what we all are discussing here also puts the onus of being self-aware, raising your hand, making that call to a doctor on the women going through this. And that'll happen when they're more and more aware of the symptoms. So first part of my question is, do you really feel as a doc that women are even getting aware? And second part of it is that what is it that you tell them to watch out for in order for them to raise that mild alarm to say, okay, let me just go meet somebody and get this going on a journey that'll solve it or guide me?
Right, thanks, Shali. As you know, Dr. Nauzer rightly pointed out, women are not as aware of what they're going through simply because they don't want to accept that they have a problem. Now, as you know, you mentioned figures, the Indian figures, some of them mention that 80% of women go through the menopause, and probably, it's just mild or moderate symptoms, but there are those 10 to 12% who are very severe, and probably they will come up. But what about the remaining? Why are they suffering in silence? So, some of the things like, hot flushes, night sweats, simple thing like falling of hair, irritability, confusions, the typical mind fog that women talk about, and then backaches. And some of them are, like having vaginal dryness, genitourinary symptoms. They will talk about the irregular menses, but then they don't want to come forward. And if they ignore these symptoms, these can get more severe. And the severe ones they need to know about is, these hot flushes and night sweats can become so severe, they affect your sleep patterns. And if your sleep patterns are affected, you are more depressed, your quality of work suffers. Whether you're a homemaker or whether, you're working somewhere, both the things, the quality of life quotient is very, very important. And, the long-term symptoms women need to know. If you suffer for a long time, your heart is not going to be with you. One misconception I'd like to tell you that most of the people tend to think women don't get heart attacks. It's only the men who get it. But remember, at 48, 49, 50, our hormones, our estrogen has fallen down, and we are as predisposed to cardiac events as men are. So therefore, and there's also a redistribution of abdominal fat, because the lipid friendly, we call lipids, it's the fats. So the heart friendly fats go down and the unfriendly ones start going up. And because of the redistribution of the fat, women also tend to put on a lot of weight around the belly. The metabolism reduces unless you're really, someone like Lara Dutta who's into, a lot of physical activity. And today you're seeing a lot more people doing that. But unless they learn that, they will have long-term consequences. And osteoporosis, we tend to think osteoporosis is a silent killer. The bones get brittle, And because of the vasomotor symptoms, the incidence of falls, the impact of the falls, the incidence of fractures goes high. So these are the long-term problems. And remember, breast cancer is something, women fear. But in the 5th and the 6th decade of life, that's the time it's detected the most. So prevention, nobody can prevent breast cancer, but at least you can diagnose it much more earlier. I mean, we're not trying to get medical, but these are some of the realities. And Alzheimer's, nobody knows really what causes it. But we definitely know that when you're in the postmenopausal phase, more women get into it. So activity-wise, mental activity, physical activity, all these things women need to know. So change of your lifestyles. Eating well, it's easy to say eat well, but what is eating well? A balanced diet, good carbs, good amount of proteins, less of fats. Eat at the right time. We tend to, Indian women or Indian families tend to eat late at night, 10 o'clock, 10:30 when the husband comes, and then, she'll just clear up, and then they're in bed watching telly. So that is one of the worst exercises one can do, is getting into bed soon after. So eat in time, drink plenty of fluids, have lots of fruits, nuts. And today there are so many veggies around which are different. You can have the salads, you can have whatever, but get onto a good diet, exercise well, walk well, think positive, sleep well. I think that's so important, and have that health consciousness. So talk about your symptoms, don't confine it to yourself, and don't suffer silently. We're all there. We as doctors are there. We as influencers are there to tell women, speak up. And that's what they have to do.
That's true. I know. I do admit that it's a long list, but I think when it comes from her, even I'm going to pay attention to it. But one part of this is our everyday work. So, Dr. Shetty, let's talk about just sensitizing a work environment, both at an individual level, at a corporation level. I know companies want to talk about it, but they'll do it on that one single day by sending one emailer, and it's not a word that they're very comfortable with, as they haven't been in the case of menstruation either. But I think one of the things that makes this audience here and the panel here very, very empowering is that we are speaking up, we are saying the terms they need to be called, and we're normalizing it. So from a conversation starter point of view, where does a corporation begin, and how does a work environment change?
So Shaili, before I get to the answer to your question, just a quick update. So Abbott, so we are one of the women leaders, the therapy of women's health, so we are leaders, and we are committed to empowering women live healthy, take control of their own health, and we ensure and strive seamlessly to support them at every stage of their lives, so starting from a menarche to a menopause. So coming to menopause, so Shaili, I would like to tell you that there was a large-scale, robust survey which was conducted by Abbott. Okay, so this survey was basically to understand the local experience, the quality of life impacting the women in the menopausal space, okay, and what do the caregivers feel about these women. So out of this survey, there is one stat which I would like to tell you. So 73% of women, when I say women, these are the working women in the menopausal age group, they feel the need to take leave from work because of the menopausal symptoms. So this is India, but when I have to talk on the global front, so there is a study which was done in the United Kingdoms. Okay, so this was also a study done on the working population by the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. Even that study stated a 63% increase in the stress level in the menopausal age group women because of these symptoms. So in all, the working women, as you rightly mentioned, so these women are in that stage of the career where they are actually doing amazingly well. They are leaders in the industry, they are assets to the organization. These leaders make a difference to the lives of the people they are working alongside. So it's our moral duty to support these women. So when you talk about Abbott, so we do our bit. Firstly, we do tie up with healthcare professionals and societies to make women menopause aware. They're supposed to know what they're supposed to expect when they transition into this stage of life. We've launched the next chapter so that there are more authentic stories to relate to, and they can have more transparent and open conversation. And Shaili, as Lara had mentioned, There's something coming up very soon in the next few minutes for the audience out here, and a very interesting tool which will also help these working women live life better and live life to the fullest.
So, you know, one of the things that we shouldn't forget is at the time that women get their menopause symptoms in the working environment, they're actually no longer workers, they're leaders.
Absolutely.
And they literally are at the place where they could not just drive some change, they could make the men uncomfortable. And why do I use the word uncomfortable? Because it takes time for them to get used to understanding what are the various things that you know, women go through at the workplace, and how much of the workplace goes back with them, which is another big part of their stress that you talked about. So let's talk about stress. I think you kind of talked about the film industry and the entertainment industry. Other than somebody mentioning Bombay Begums, and hopefully there'll be more stuff coming up, we don't like talking about these things, right? I mean, women's health. You only go to doctors for good news. Pretty much it. Just curious what your experience is, and if you are sensing change. Okay, the laughter gives it away.
See, let's break it down. I mean, it's wonderful, of course, and it's very, very important to talk about statistics, and it's very, very important to talk about the very technical aspects, the medical aspects of menopause. But I think the one thing that we can all relate to is personal stories, right? Personal experiences.
Yeah.
That's what makes it palatable. That's what makes it say, oh, that happened to me. I get that. So for me, Shelley, I mean, I've been in an industry, everybody knows, is very, very male-driven. I mean, we're fighting many things on many levels, and some wonderful women that have come before me have paved the path, made it easier for me. I continue to do the same for women that will come after me. So, you know, I mean, we won't bring them up here, but there are many things: pay parity, misogyny, inclusion, blah, blah, blah. One of the things that I've faced in my workspace itself is male colleagues telling me years ago, what is wrong with you? Are you on your period or what? Really? And I can promise you, I cannot be the only woman who's experienced that. I mean, we face it in every industry, regardless of where we're at, you know. That why are you being so crabby today? What's gotten into you? Are you on your period? Yeah, maybe I am, you know, but so what? It doesn't change me from the way that I am on any other day, excuse me. That's signing up for inhabiting this planet with the opposite sex called women, you know. But again, to put it into context, let me describe. So the man that I'm married to, wonderful man, Mr. Mahesh Bhupati, is a sports person, right? He's been taught since childhood to grind through the pain. I mean, the man is a wall, literally. You can hit him with a Grand Slam win. You can hit him with a loss at the final. You can hit him with a first round loss. The expression and the whatever is exactly the same, because that's how he's been reared. Grind through the pain. Now, for a man like that, to understand why the woman has gone off the rails one day, I mean, for him, he hasn't been raised in the manner to understand that there needs to be empathy, or there needs to be understanding, or there needs to be sensitivity. And then divine justice, the man has had a...
Keep flying off my handle. So I say, let's work out a strategy. If you feel it boiling up inside you, you shall walk away and go to another room. And you will tell your family that if mom's walking away, you will not follow her. You will not pester her. You will not ask her what happened. Give her space. She will be back in 10 minutes and she will handle it more rationally. Because if she didn't do this, she'll spend the next 24 hours feeling guilty and terrible that I said things I shouldn't have. So these are small things. These don't need medications.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to stress here. I have all the respect for my colleagues, the psychiatrists and the counselors. And it's time to call out the big guns when required, but for that you have to recognize it. Now, to recognize it is some very simple things you can do. There are online scales where you can give yourself a self-test, which will actually tell you where you are. There's something called a DAS scale. We modified it for a book. It will tell you anxiety, anger, depression, and then you can deal with it a lot better. This is mental health. I just have to finish by mentioning one other aspect, which is the elephant in the room which is not recognized, and that is sexuality.
Yeah.
this is something people have suffered in silence, and that is unacceptable. Part of it is physical, that can be fixed. Hormones can make the vaginal dryness and things better.